JB, I've got a little problem here. Okay, I'm trying to get you up to this area or to any D3 game that I'm able to attend because everybody, where's JB? Where's JB? I've told you this how many times. I have an issue now. Apparently, D3 feels like they have to go to you, like you're the godfather of Division 3, so they have to come meet you in person. Yeah, kiss the ring. You got it. So I'm looking on Twitter this morning when I woke up because I sort of slept a long time after that Gagliardi show, and I saw this. Could you explain what happened here?
Well, hey, yeah. I mean, Dan Mulroney, the head coach of the Amcats, is in town for a kind of a recruiting, football camp thing that he's doing down here in Orlando. And he said, "Hey, let's meet up." So yeah, I got to meet some of the guys on his staff. We're at the Rock and Brews near the Orlando airport. And we got a chance to hang out for a couple hours and shoot the breeze, celebrate the ECFC championship and their best season ever. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And hey, it was just a bunch of Connecticut guys hanging out. We had some Waterberries. We had, some Avon, Hartford area guys. We were just, shooting the breeze about, being from New England.
I've been to your place numerous times. We've done shows from your kitchen, among other places in your house, okay? The Rock and Brews has not appeared on my list of places you've taken me. Are you, embarrassed to perhaps, be seen with me or something?
Oh, come on, man. Just we had to find a place in the middle, and that was a perfect location. My old band used to play at the Rock and Brews on the other side of town. But no, Frank, we've been seen in public plenty of times now. I don't think that's a big problem.
Well, apparently we got some construction going on in my place here today. You can hear in the background probably. So this is going to be an interesting show nonetheless. But yeah, yep. we'll make it through this. So in the meantime, JB will be doing a lot more talking as I tell you it's season 14 of In the Huddle. Okay, we got a couple of seconds. I think I can talk. Yeah, welcome to my life. Yeah. So anyway, Coach Mulroney and you at the Rock and Brews yesterday, you look like you didn't have too much of a fun night at least. So at least we got you here for the show. That's that's the good news here.
Yeah, I made sure to at least pace myself somewhat so that I could be a little coherent today, yeah. But I did have a reason for celebration last night, other than having Dan in town. It looks like I'll be starting a new job in the new year, so I'll be excited about that. And we'll keep the personal stuff to a minimum, but I'm very excited to be a new chapter and something I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and I'm going in. So here we go.
Well, I'll talk to you after the show then, because we left out this discussion yesterday when I was sleeping all day or all night after the Gagliardi show.
Hey, you know what though, Frank? I will say, congratulations. That Gagliardi show looked awesome. You and Pat did a great job presenting, this great slate of candidates, and it really kind of sucks that you have to chop it down from all these outstanding people to just only 5 finalists. But that's how these things go. I thought the J Club had some great choices, but there were a couple of things I was a little disappointed in. If I'm being perfectly honest, maybe it's my regional bias about some stuff, but you can't really complain. When you have guys like Blaine Hawkins, like Jefferson Fritz. I think at this point, those two are probably the favorites if you had to bet on it. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Zimbelman, Smith, or Kaminsky won at this point. They're all, you look at their statistics and they're like, I think one of our friends used the word gargantuan. I mean, what these guys have accomplished on the football field is pretty amazing. So congratulations to them. You guys are all winners in my book, semifinalists and everybody. So it's just, that's just the process. And yeah, here we go.
Yeah, let me go through them real quick for anybody that missed them yesterday. I'm sorry about my voice kind of cracking here a little bit at the least opportune time, as always. But anyway,
Playoffs.
yeah, exactly. What's going on? Good thing we're not doing anything this weekend. Gavin Zimbelman, the senior quarterback from Aurora, Wyatt Smith, senior quarterback from Linfield, Andrew Kaminsky, senior wide receiver from North Central, Blaine Hawkins, senior quarterback from Central, and Jefferson Fritz, senior defensive back, punter, punt returner from Mary Hardin Baylor. Are your 5 finalists. The Gagliardi Trophy winner will be announced on Friday, December 17th during the D3Football.com Stag Bowl pregame show. In other words, they're entrusting me to open the envelope or something like that. Maybe I'll give that to Greg Thomas to open. Might even have our friend Will Bellamy, I'm hearing, popping in here, helping us out with some analysis, quarterback from Union College, during that show. But you will see the All-America teams and also the Gagliardi Trophy winner coming up on the 17th. Can't wait to do that. So, look, Ian Blankenship, I wish he was on that list. I'm not going to lie to you. You brought it up. I'll go a step further for a number of reasons. And I hope that we can get some more non-quarterbacks into the fold in terms of semifinalists. I thought they missed a chance with Ian Barr, to be honest with you, from Westminster. His stats maybe didn't line up as well as they could have necessarily if we, let's say, brought the spring forward somehow. But, some of the stats of the guys that got picked as finalists even, you look at them and you're like, well, these aren't huge stats. But then we were able to tell you, like Kaminsky's touchdown reception numbers dropped a little bit this year, but we know why they dropped, and people had enough understanding of why to vote him into the finalist position. And that's great that they can see through that stuff. So I hope that we can help educate the J Club moving forward to help them get some more diversity in positions as well, because there were 12 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, and Jefferson Fritz, however you want to count him, ultimately in that mix. And yeah, the Heisman has that same problem per se of going a little too quarterback centric, but more running backs, more offensive, defensive linemen, more defensive players generally would be great to see. So that's the stuff we hope to work on moving forward. As you said, I think the National Player of the Year is in the finalist pool, whoever that may be. So there's no slights here in that respect. It's just, it would be nice to see a little bit more in terms of diversity in both finalists and semifinalists. That's it, and it's an honor to be a part of it, and hopefully by being a part of it, they'll listen to us a little bit moving forward too on the best ways to handle this. Because John Gagliardi, as we said in the beginning of that show, phenomenal man, phenomenal coach, phenomenal person generally toward the people that he came in touch with throughout his life. So he would love to see a diverse pool there. I know that, and that's the way we'll go with it. We have semifinals coming up, and we did not predict these games. We wanted to show the tail of the tape for both games, and we'll take them in the order that you see them on the screen. That is the order they will be run on ESPN Plus this weekend on Saturday. The first one at noon Eastern Time. The second one at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll check your ESPN app especially. You can cast that in many cases to your screen or on Roku or Amazon TV, I believe. You can, or Apple TV, you can get the ESPN app as well and don't have to cast it per se. Just go in and do it.
Speaking of casting that's on the screen, is there supposed to be something on the screen other than our mugs? Because I don't see.
I didn't put it yet, and so here it comes.
Okay.
I didn't forget. So here comes the first one. It's about presentation. It's about here's the big moment.
That's why you're the host with the most, man. I'm like the slapstick comedy guy.
Let's not lie about that stuff. Here is North Central at Mount Union. I keep tripping on this too because I keep wanting to say Mount Union at North Central, and we talked about it. It's still wrong, and it's still tough to even swallow that for a lot of us at this point. But here we go. We will talk about this game. And what jumps out at you when you look at this tail of the tape? Go ahead, run down what you'd like to on this.
Well, from the North Central side, the thing that really jumped out to me when I was actually manually filling this out was that their rushing average went up by like over 100 yards from 2019 to this year. The fact that they have turned, I mean, they're still, I mean, it's almost 600 yards of total offensive game is unbelievable. Mountain Union not too far behind them, though. But this 310 plus rush yard per game total is a big difference from the kind of team they had when they won the national title back in 2019. And, you know, if you look on both sides of the ledger here, 59 yards allowed rushing, 53 yards allowed rushing. So, I mean, is this going to be a game where you pass to set up the run? I mean, Luke Lennon is the youngest quarterback in the mix here. I mean, even Braxton Plunk listed as a junior. Really, this is his first year as a starter, so you could kind of say he's really more like a sophomore. So they're, you know, younger guys in this big game. First time for them in a national semifinal game. And the other thing that sort of stood out to me, Frank, was normally teams that get this far in the tournament have way better turnover margin stats. And maybe that's just because they're slinging the ball a lot, and so there's more chances for interceptions or fumbles in the case of North Central to occur because they're running so much. +4 and +3 are not typically, you know, you usually expect double digits to say that as far as turnover margin goes for these teams. So something to look out for on Saturday could be a turnover or so, maybe 2 or 3, depending on what happens. Both of these are great defenses. You can see the numbers on the defensive side are almost identical. It's crazy. Like they're off by a few yards here and there. So kind of a mirror image, ironically, and we'll see that in the next game too. Both of these teams have very similar statistics on almost every level. The biggest difference, I guess you can say, is that you know, Plunk really is he scores touchdowns through the air. Lennon has ran it in almost 10 times this season, so that's certainly an option and one that they might need to go to depending on how the Raiders defense plays them.
One thing I'll point out, if my memory serves correctly here, that Mount Union went -3 in the turnover ratio last weekend against Muhlenberg, 2 interceptions, and the punt muff, which counts as a turnover by Mount Union. So they were pretty much +7 coming into last weekend, and then go to +4. But you know, you can look at that two ways. This is not the right time of year to be showing mistakes, you know, special teams or otherwise. And, you know, 2 interceptions will not cut it here. If you give the ball +3 times to North Central, this is going to be an ugly matchup that we're going to be all saying is a 330 yet. If you play perfect football, you may still lose this game. You know, North Central is opportunistic. They can run it down your throats and keep running it down your throats, and then, you know, top it off with a Luke Lennon throw for a touchdown, or as you said, he may run it himself. This is one of those where the team that absolutely needs to play perfect football out of these two, in my book, is Mount Union to win. But even that may not be enough if North Central, too, does not make mistakes on that field. So we'll see where we predict these. But I did find these numbers and everything very interesting, to say the least. So there's game number 1. Game number 2, let's look at it in the big screen here, and that's Mary Hardin-Baylor at UW Whitewater. Go for it.
Well, yeah, once again, you know, very similar totals for both sides of the ball, including, you know, when you break it down by pass and by rush. You know, overall, I mean, obviously, Whitewater's been more successful in the playoffs and in their history, with about, looks like 12 more wins and certainly fewer losses over the years. But, you know, 478 compared to 461, give or take. But what really stands out to me, Frank, is this: look how even Mary Hardin-Baylor is: 244.7, 233.3. Basically like 11 yards difference between passing and rushing. And so that balance is going to be something that they're going to have to strive for, because as we saw in the Trinity game, when Kyle King struggled a little bit, I think he went 10 for 28 in that game, and his receivers just couldn't seem to get open as well. And maybe he had a few bad throws here and there. it definitely affected their ability to score. And I mean, Kyle, sort of like Lennon, has the ability to throw the ball to get touchdowns. He can run it in. He's 11 rushing TDs. Both of these quarterbacks, though, Myler, they don't make mistakes. Only 2 interceptions on the whole season is really impressive. Part of that is because they have such a great running game, and that sets things up nicely for them. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, once again, kind of mirror images. I mean, the rushing defense for Whitewater, a little more stout with 59 yards allowed. They allow a little more through the air. And so I think this is where, when we talked with Kyle about, Brandon Jordan and the one-on-one matchups on the outside, those are going to be a big deal about how far this game goes. And then turnover margin will definitely impact it as well. Plus 14 for the Warhawks is pretty strong. Plus 11 for the Crew is strong. The one statistic that we don't really have in here that could really factor into this game, though, Frank, is stuff that Jefferson Fritz, the Gagliardi finalist, provides. The field position with punting, his ability to return. There's several kick and punt returners on the Crusaders that could really change the effect, sort of the feel of this game, with either a long return or some maybe like a fake punt. I think you mentioned during the Gagliardi broadcast, Fritz having some rushing stats, and those are the times when he takes the ball on the punt and just takes off, and that's a possibility in this game too. Once again, though, I see this as these are very evenly matched teams. Even the numbers, I mean, like 18 more yards on offense for the Crew, about 30 yards less from defense allowed. So maybe the statistics sort of favor the Crusaders a little bit, but you look at Myler, 35 passing touchdowns, and the defense is only allowing 59 rush yards per game. That's pretty impressive.
I think the problem is, JB, that numbers can lie sometimes, and it depends on your competition along the way. And I think this is where, unfortunately, for Mary Hardin-Baylor, the fact that the WIAC is the WIAC and the ASC is the ASC is the problem. And there are some strong teams in the ASC, but it's a question of depth from top to bottom. So, if you're playing in your own pool of teams, and they do pretty much their entire season except for one game, you can generate stats that sort of tip the balance of this scale a little bit in your direction. It's not to say that Mary Hardin-Baylor is by any means puffing up their numbers. It's just a reality of the situation. Whereas in the WIAC, we saw some really wacky results from what we expected from some bottom level teams along the way. That's a reminder, those teams, the River Falls of the world, are actually very, power-laden or experience-laden teams that can bite you at any given day or any given minute. So that's where the numbers, I think, are a little bit perplexing to me as to, what to do here, how to make this decision, or how to use them when you're making a decision like this. So it is our job to try to do so.
I have one more stat for you. I have one more stat. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this.
Oh, what is the weather?
Saturday's forecast in Whitewater, 80% chance of snow, low of 28. It's going to be – might be some white stuff on the field for this game. It's not going to be as cold as it was in 2019, but for you guys out there, and I'm definitely one of them that likes watching when you turn the TV on and the field is white with little, lines throughout. I think we might get one of those kind of games on Saturday.
Wonder if Kyle King will go sleeveless for this one or not. That'll be an interesting call. Some quarterbacks won't wear sleeves no matter what because they feel like it inhibits their throwing arm. It's a little bit weird for their normal feel like that. So, okay, now let's go to what we're about to, which is the bracket, to sort of show you again that on the left side, it's Mary Hardin-Baylor at Wisconsin Whitewater. It's North Central at Mount Union. JB, it's time to pick some games. I'm going to have you start on the left side of the bracket. Mary Hardin-Baylor at Wisconsin Whitewater.
Thank God there isn't a timer on this one because I have been struggling with this one. So I will say this: when the bracket was released, I picked all the the teams, my Stag Bowl matchup was Mary Hardin Baylor versus North Central. But after seeing Whitewater these last 2 or 3 weeks and seeing kind of what's been going on in the WIAC this season, and they're the home team, it's going to be cold and snowy, I'm starting to change my tune. I want to pick the Crusaders because I feel like their offense has the opportunity to really challenge and maybe do some things against the Warhawks that they haven't really seen. And there's some guys on that Crusaders defense that are pretty impressive, like Kavon Shepard, who was my defensive player of the week for the quarterfinals. But it just feels like with all the factors, Myler and McGrath, et cetera, I think this is going to be like a 17-14 Whitewater win. And it might boil down to the X factor for me is really the kicking game. And I think Maldonado, the kicker for Whitewater, has been more consistent and more reliable. And when it's 28 degrees and the ball is hard as a rock, he's going to probably be the called on at least once to kick a pretty decent distance field goal, and he knows how to do it. I don't know if the guys from Texas are that prepared for that, but yeah, I could see it going either way. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, but yeah, it feels like there's too much in favor of Whitewater as the home team, particularly with the weather, to pick against them.
Yeah, and my statistics situation that I was kind of bringing up earlier foretells what I think is going to happen in this game to a certain degree. The bodies of Wisconsin Whitewater, the experience behind those bodies is a difference maker. And here's where I think the difference is. It's the offense right now. I think the balance of the Whitewater offense with the offensive line that they have is the superior force here. The defenses, I think, are actually very similar and could actually both clamp down here. So then you go to the offenses. Which offense is the better performing offense from top to bottom? To me, it is Whitewater's. And Alex Pete, no offense to Cormier, but Alex Pete is phenomenal. He's shown it in these playoffs through and through. And that balance between Myler and Pete and the rest of the running backs, obviously, for Wisconsin Whitewater, is going to win this game in a close-fought game, as you're saying. My score, 21-17 in favor of Whitewater. I just think that that's going to be the difference maker. The defense for Mary Hardin Baylor throughout the playoffs has played well, even in that Trinity game that we pointed out back in the first round. Okay? So I'm not worried about that, but I just think that there's going to be enough of an edge for that Wisconsin Whitewater offense to win this game, 21-17. Okay, right side of the bracket, North Central at Mount Union. Guess I have to go first this time, huh?
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to, because I've been pretty vocal about my opinion on North Central for a few weeks now, and like I just said,
let me go first, and then I'll let you lay down the whatever you want to call it at the end of the day. I just don't see. Okay, here's how I'll take it from. 2 years ago, North Central hopped into Mount Union and beat them in a ridiculous scoring game, in the 110-point range, basically, between those two teams, if I remember correctly, at least 100 points. And everybody this year has been, but they've lost Brock Rudder, it's all over for North Central. And then this Luke Lehman kid comes in. Sorry, Luke, but I just to use the, stories and narratives that have been told. At 19 years old, as Andrew Kaminsky points out to us earlier in the week. Yeah. And he hasn't done anything wrong. He's done a lot right for that team. In the meantime, North Central, knowing they had a little bit, maybe not downgrade, but less experience in quarterback, decided, hey, we're going to, go on our running game. We are going to give it to Greenfield and who was it? Terrence Hill, was it? And all the other guys we have, and we are going to become a more balanced offense because we have the players to do it. And guess what? They did it, and did it well. So that allowed Lehnen to really mature, be mentored by guys like Kaminsky, etc. So if the question ultimately is, well, they can't do it again because they lost Brock Rutter is going to be the first one out there to tell you, yeah, go ahead and think that, folks, because this team has retooled at quarterback and has also played to their strengths where they knew they had them. So if that is the only concern about repeating this game from 2019 to 2021, and I'm not even looking at the fact of Mount Union, whether they're up or down on that, North Central should win this game. Now let's look at Mount Union. The mistakes last weekend were like, what the heck is going on here? This isn't the team from Alliance I know in the playoffs, okay? Yeah, they're still winning the regular season games by 60, 70 points in some cases. I get that, folks. That they're still an elite team. Absolutely. But now when we're at this level, we have to ask ourselves, well, getting a -3 turnover ratio and still winning, granted, okay, that is a feat right there. But the -3 in the first place, how did that even happen? And what can you do about that this late in the season if these mistakes are that prone to happen? And so I don't see this Mount Union team being the same Mount Union team from 2 years ago. I really don't, when North Central beat them in the first place. I think there's a slight drop, enough to say that North Central wins this game 37-24. Hit it.
Well, I'm sorry I was kind of sitting here cracking up because I'm on this text string with Nate Milne and Dan Mulrooney. And, of course, Coach Milne is just roasting Dan like nobody's business about his, being out in public wearing a T-shirt with his name on it. I'm like trying not to lose it here. These guys are great. Oh, man. I love the D3 coaching community. Yep, there it is. He's putting on his camp. He's got to, put the brand out there. And, of course, Milne is just locked in on it and just tooling him relentlessly. It's just hysterical. You got to love the D3 coaching fraternity. But back to what we're here to do.
Back to the semifinals.
Yeah. I've been saying for a long time, I think North Central is going to repeat as champions. They just seem to be the most complete team. And with, the combination, I think initially I was thinking this would be like a 55-35 kind of thing, but with both Petrocelli and Greenfield, this game could just become maybe a lower scoring, teams just pounded each other with the run, and then they try to go over the top with a pass here and there. So I feel like this game may not end up being the shootout. I mean, you see the offensive statistics, which are ridiculous. Like both teams are averaging almost 600 yards of offense a game. I think in this game, though, it's not going to be a 59-52 shootout. I feel like it's going to be probably more like you were saying, like a 35-24 or 35-27 kind of game where the team that has the ball last has a chance to, punch in the go-ahead score. So I'm going to stick to my guns, stick with North Central. But I have a feeling that the Raiders are going to make it interesting. And it's going to be tough for NCC to get out of Alliance with the win, but I think they'll ultimately do it.
Also, we want to bring awareness to a story that you had pushed over to me, and I donated. I'm not sure if you did or not, ultimately, but fill in, folks, on what you saw there with the Linfield story at Mary Hardin Baylor from this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was a player on the Linfield team that during the course of the game suffered some types of internal injuries, and he was on the sideline, and they were keeping an eye on him. And after the game, since he wasn't doing or feeling very well, they rushed him to the emergency room out there in Texas, and I guess he's been stabilized, but he's been in the ER for a few days now, and so
he's out at this point. They did release him, so that is the good news.
Awesome.
Brock Klosterman is released at this point after $39,000, maybe $40,000 raised on a GoFundMe for him. Let me elaborate too on a couple of things that I read. I'm not sure if you saw this. The UMHB's president, Dr. O'Rear, actually delivered Chick-fil-A and food and milkshakes to them. The athletic director
Nice.
delivered lunch one of the days to the family. The alumni club essentially had all kinds of people offering, local families saying, hey, if you need anything, blankets, anything, just let us know, places to crash or anything else, because obviously you don't plan on staying in Belton, Texas for, more days than what you would figure your stay to be. So the community of UMHB, give them credit. It seemed like there was a common link of being close to God for these two the family and obviously the UMHB family. And so, you drop the rivalry and you see your commonalities in moments like those. And it was really, really impressive to see the response and the family also embracing that response and making sure folks knew that the UMHB family became part of their family for a few days. They will still face a lot of uphill battle. He has to still take it easy and make sure his vitals stay where they are after all the drugs that they used to get him stabilized subside. So hopefully he can do the things he wants to do down the line. But to Brock Klosterman and his family, we hope that everything does go well. Keep us updated, please. For those looking to give, just go down to my, I think it's near the top of my Twitter page, and you'll see the retweet I did of the GoFundMe and more information available there as well. Maybe JB can retweet it one more time just for those that want the updates, because the updates are on the GoFundMe page there. Okay, JB, we have predicted the semifinals. I will tell folks that we will have a show next week, probably from Canton, Ohio, when I get out there on Wednesday, and it'll be a little less coverage from the in the Huddle side. Let me just tell everybody that putting a show like yesterday's together is not easy, and also the show before that, a day before that, with the four semifinalists. As you helped put that together a lot too, not easy as well. So we're going to take a little bit of a breather this week and let ESPN do their thing. We'll still be tweeting, we'll still be covering this game and talking about it and everything else. And I've got actually an idea. We may do an impromptu little thing tomorrow for one of the games. If you're around watching it and I'm around watching it, and I know other people that might be around watching it, we might do a little Coach's Clicker discussion during the game. If
who are you going to be? You're going to be Eli, and I'm going to be Peyton. Is that what we're going to do, Frank?
Well, I don't know. Come on, Peyton. Did I really just do that, Sam?
Is my forehead big enough? I don't think so. I don't know.
But
and I need to take some HGH.
We're not going to promote this too hard, folks, but we may try to do it. So, stay tuned, and we'll have it on our Twitter feeds what we end up doing with it. So, until this weekend, have a great Friday. Enjoy the football Saturday. I'll see you from Canton no matter what on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And this season's almost over, folks. This calendar year is almost over. 2021, it's been an interesting one. Better than 2020 for sure. But I think we could all use a little bit of celebration and break right now. We'll see you soon.